Information you're organized to welcome. Anytime we share information, whether it's through speech, writing, or multimedia, it must be organized to be comprehensible and effective. When we plan ahead, we're able to coordinate these elements successfully into a message. In this presentation, we will consider different strategies for organizing information. Fortunately, there are universal principles, known as the 5 hat racks, that we can apply to maximize the impact of our message. Has anyone been bit by a wild animal before? It happened to me once. If you haven't had the pleasure yet, let me share the process with you. I got a tetanus shot. I went to the hospital. I took antibiotics for a week. A rat bit me on the thumb. Does this story make sense? What, if anything, is wrong with it? Clearly, it's out of order. That story was terribly disorganized. Therefore, it didn't make much sense when I presented it. The universal principles of design describe more than 100 general principles of design that we see throughout our world. There's even one about how humans organize information, and it's called the 5 hat racks. I recommend taking a look at this book. It's like an encyclopedia of design methods, and each one is briefly introduced in 1 or 2 pages with text and visuals. It's an excellent reference resource. Let's look at the 5 hat racks. There are 5 universal ways to organize information for better understanding. These are time, magnitude, location, alphabet, and category. When you're preparing to share information, you should consider which type of organization is most effective for your message. Let's review the 5 hat racks to better understand how they can be applied. When we organize by time, we put things into a chronological sequence. Examples include a calendar, timeline, or step-by-step process. It's useful to organize by time when you are describing events or instructing someone on how to execute a procedure. Here is a time-based representation of the places I've lived. In this case, I chose to create a timeline. On the left side is my birth year. On the right side is the present. Points in between mark the years that I moved to a new destination. This is an appropriate format for sharing major life events. When we organize by magnitude, we put things in order according to their size. Typically, there is a common unit of measure involved, such as dollars, kilometers, or degrees. We put things in order from least to greatest, or biggest to smallest. Continuing with the places I've lived theme, here we see an organization by magnitude. Specifically, this graph portrays how many years I've lived in each location, sorted from least to greatest. I might use this format if I was relating how long I lived in a location to how profound an impact it had on my life. When we organize by location, we order things according to physical space. For instance, a map arranges landmarks according to their relative placement in the world. Meanwhile, a bus might take you on a direct route from one end of a city to another while visiting each closest stop along the way. This is a location-based visualization of the places I've lived. The entire world map is provided to establish the spatial context. The position of each location of interest is highlighted. I would use this representation to help you visualize the relative positions of the places I've lived in the context of the entire world. When we organize by alphabet, we order things according to a sequence of letters. Many everyday things use this form of organization. Your contact list in your phone and the files on your computer are examples. Often this format is used when we need to be able to draw from a large collection of reference information in a nonlinear way, such as looking a word up in the dictionary. Sadly, it can also be somewhat arbitrarily applied when no better, more logical alternative has been thought of. People with last names starting after the letter P have learned to patiently cope with the injustice of waiting forever for their turns in school because the teacher always makes everyone take turns in name order starting with A. Meanwhile, people with names before J have been spoiled by being able to go first for everything throughout their entire lives. Since it is so pervasive, most people are very familiar with alphabetization. Here are the names of the places I've lived in alphabetical order according to the starting letter of their names. In the case where we sort a list from A to Z, low to high, or small to big, we are using ascending order. When we sort from Z to A, high to low, or big to small, we are using descending order. When we organize by category, we base our ordering on the relationships between things. This is a more sophisticated method since it is based on logical similarity. Examples include how food items are aligned into aisles in a grocery store, or how courses on similar topics are grouped into educational degree programs. Categorical organization is great when you want to compare and contrast items or share information that naturally groups together. In this example, the places I've lived are organized according to continental categories. The 3 locations in North America are grouped together, while the 2 locations in Asia are placed together. This would be an excellent organization for comparing and contrasting things like cultures or weather patterns between these 2 groups. Now that you're familiar with the 5 hat racks, let's consider some examples. Think about the organizational style you would use for sharing each of these ideas. If aliens landed on Earth, how would you organize them? How would you organize the reasons why you enjoy design? Before we conclude, let's revisit that animal bite in chronological order. A rat bit me on the thumb. I went to the hospital. I got a tetanus shot. I took antibiotics for a week. Well, the story makes a lot more sense now because the information is organized appropriately. Whether you're taking a trip around the world or to the doctor's office, remember to use the 5 hat racks to organize your information and enhance the effectiveness of your message.